Alex Zach Lees. It's a name we'll all be talking about for many years to come, as the 20-year-old from Halifax broke yet more records on day 2 of the LV County Championship match between Derbyshire and Yorkshire in Chesterfield, a day again dominated by the visitors. Lees had already hit the headlines by scoring 171 on day 1 out of his side's imposing 367 for 2. He was soon on his way again in partnership with his captain Andrew Gale, as the two took only 15 minutes to raise their sides 400. Derbyshire were up against it once again. Gale was back in the side from injury and kept up the progress he was making before being sidelined, as he eased to a 50 off 73 balls with his 9th 4. Since hitting 272 against Notts in Scarborough, he's rarely failed to score runs, and that's just one of the reasons why Yorkshire are now favourites for the title. It helps that you can find a 20-year-old in only his 5th championship match to score a double 100. Lees had a big smile right across his face as he turned for a second run to take him to his incredible 200 off his 321st ball. In doing so, he became the youngest Yorkshire player to achieve such a feat at 20 years and 95 days, beating Richard Blakey, who was 130 days older when he did it in 1987. So how to celebrate such a remarkable achievement? Cut another ball to the boundary, of course, for your 31st 4. After sharing in a record-breaking second wicket partnership of 311, Lees now put on 138 with Gale, who departed for 74 to give Peter Burgoyne his maiden championship wicket. It was one he thoroughly deserved too, even if it had taken him 39 overs to get. For the second time this summer, Yorkshire knocked up 500 runs against Derbyshire. They made 677 for 7 in the innings win in Leeds in early May, and this 4 from Lees took them to 500 again. Yorkshire were still batting in the afternoon, and Gary Ballance was now taking on the home attack, Wes Durston twice being struck for 6s as the score started to rattle along. Ballance is not really a man you want to see coming in at 471 for 3. He reached a 50 off 88 balls after a sluggish start, getting there with his 4th 4 to go with those 2 6s, ones he added to 2 balls later, as Yorkshire now headed towards 600. They were helped by a 4th maximum from Ballance, who was now treating this as a one-day game. He is a very clean hitter of a cricket ball. But in the same over, he did take his eye off the ball to be stumped off Durston for 66. But Lees went on and now struck his 36th 4 to reach an amazing 250. He had by now faced 412 balls. He was passing some famous names, including Geoffrey Boycott, on the list of the highest ever individual scorers for Yorkshire. He then belted Tim Groenewald for his first 6 off his 433rd delivery. That took him past Gale's 272 this season, and this was now the highest score by anyone in the championship this year. He was only denied a 300 when Gale declared after Adil Rashid was out, leaving Lees unbeaten on 275 after 9¼ hours at the crease. It was the 3rd highest score ever at this ground. After 152 overs in the field, Derbyshire lost their first wicket in reply to Yorkshire's mammoth 617 for 5 declared in the 7th over, as Chesney Hughes, who blasted 270 against his opposition earlier on in the season, was LBW to arrested Ryan Sidebottom. Hughes had opened up with Ben Slater, who was applauded roundly when he hit his first boundary. After all, he is a Chesterfield lad. He and Wayne Madsen survived until tea and took the total along to 52 after it with few problems. It still looked to be a pitch for batsmen to fill their boots on. There's been lots of talk about walking in the last week. Well, Madsen did, even though he'd been given not out after an inside edging Stephen Patterson behind. Patterson struck again 2 balls later. LBW the decision this time to get rid of Durston, as Derbyshire threatened one of their horrible collapses. Jack Brooks then took 2 late wickets to put Yorkshire in complete control. Dan Redfern nicked behind, and Slater did likewise after making 28, a wicket which once more left Derbyshire in terrible trouble. At least Richard Johnson and Mark Turner survived until the close, taking the total along to 94 for 5, but that still leaves Derbyshire needing 374 more runs just to avoid the follow-on. They head into day 3 with no Shivnarine Chanderpaul in this match, 523 runs behind and facing their 7th defeat from 10 games this season.